Ready to start. So are we live? Live from Niagara Falls. It's the Board of Education. At this point in time, I would like to turn the microphone over to the Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Mark Laurie.
Thank you, Johnny Gilbert. Maria, you're the only one who knows who Johnny Gilbert is? Thank you very much. Welcome, and Tommy, thank you for putting us live. We're now on the World Wide Web, and we're broadcasting across all of the continents, all 7 continents, and Radio Free Europe as well. Let me just set the tone for what we're going to do this evening. We have some special guests that are going to speak to us about the Maisto case that I'm going to introduce momentarily. We then will do an agenda review. I have a number of updates to give to you, and then we'll conclude, members of the board, with an executive session for multiple reasons. And at the appropriate time, I'll read the reasons for the executive session, and there will be no action taken afterwards. But so I appreciate your indulgence, and I appreciate your presence here as we go through. This is a review session, so there is no voting that will take place this evening. We've talked about it a number of times, the Maisto case. And the Maisto case, very briefly from me, and I'm going to ask one of our guests to talk more about the history of it. The Maisto case is something that the district has been involved with since back in 2008. And some of our board members who have been around for that long remember it. Mr. Villardo jokingly said we've been through 3 superintendents on the case, and we're probably going to get to about 5 or 6 sometimes the way it feels before we get done with it. But the bottom line is, on behalf of students, the Niagara Falls City School District was one of 8 small city school districts, and there are 57 of them across the state, that took out litigation against New York State for the lack of foundation aid that we are owed, promised, and that our kids deserved. There's been a study done, and I think if the foundation aid formula would have been followed the way the law says it to be followed, our district would be owed about $58 million based on a sound basic education and the needs of our students. But because of the way that the state government has handled foundation aid, and you know it's our lifeblood because of your position, and I believe rightly so, not to raise taxes, that we're reliant on foundation aid. And that's why it's so critical to Niagara Falls, Jamestown, Port Jervis, Newburgh, Mount Vernon, Poughkeepsie, Utica. I probably missed some other, Port Byron, I probably missed a district in there. Those are the 8 districts that are involved in the case. I also want to tell the public and the board and our guests that the Niagara Falls District has been involved in this case since about 2008. And your contribution from the general fund budget has been over $650,000 to the litigation against the state for the rectifying of this egregious mistake done by the state government in terms of foundation aid. You really, board members and public, are entitled to an update, and we asked you to send questions, which you did, and we'll give you those answers, plus the ability to ask other questions. And we have people in all different shapes, forms, and mediums with us. Beth Biggerstaff, daughter of Bob Biggerstaff, is on the line. Bob is one of our lead attorneys on this case. We also have attorney David Coons, who is on the phone with our guest presenter. And finally, our guest presenter is a gentleman that I've had the pleasure of knowing for a number of years as part of this association. His name is Bill Lynch. Bill has been a leader in small city school district work. Bill drove in today from Syracuse. Bill has the distinction of having first found Cheryl Villardo in state education circles. And they were trying to reminisce as to whether Cheryl coached Bill's daughter in softball. How is that for 6 degrees of separation? Bill was the superintendent of the Fulton School District for 11 years, and he has been a very active member and leader in small city schools. So, Bill, that's the best introduction I could give you. But I think I'd ask you to come to the podium, and we do, with the exception of a couple of board members, Mr. Velardo has been around a number of years, and Mr. Petrosi's been here since the school district was incorporated in 1892. So they have some working knowledge of this case. Just to put it your understanding is, who is Maisto? Maisto is the name of a student. This case was brought to the state government, the state courts, on behalf of students, and Maisto is the last name of a student. I'm proud to tell you that in 2008, I traveled to Albany with an administrator named Joe Colburn, and we gave testimony in Justice O'Connor's chambers about why small city school districts are being inadequately funded. It was a real honor to be able to do that in court. And Bill, without me saying anything else, maybe you could just very briefly give the board a little bit of a timeline of the case. We'll answer some questions that have already been asked, and then we'll open up the floor to Counselor Coons and yourself to answer any other questions they have. And we said we'd have about 20-25 minutes for this.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to provide some information about the Maisto case and keep you as current as we possibly can with regards to that. How did Maisto come about? I'd really like to give some background and try to be really brief as I do it. So between 1995 and 2006, New York City sued New York State on 3 separate occasions on cases called the Campaign for Fiscal Equity. And New York City prevailed in each one of those cases. And they have prevailed by going all the way to the Court of Appeals, the highest court in the state, on each one of those. So in 2006, when the state, when the courts ruled that the state was in violation of providing their obligation that each student has the opportunity to obtain a sound basic education, and that's the key phrase here. They also, the Court of Appeals also put in a 3-part test to determine if the students were being provided the opportunity to earn that sound basic education. And I think it's important because that's why the small cities districts came together on Maisto. The first was that there are acceptable outputs from the students. Graduation rates, test scores, whatever student behavior performance would indicate that they have benefited from instruction and learning. A second test was inadequate inputs. Are there sufficient teachers? Are there sufficient counselors, social workers, interventionists? Is there enough time for learning? And I'm being very brief here, but those are the types of things in terms of are there enough inputs to impact students? Key because most small city school districts, not all, but the 8 Maisto cases, yours being one of them, has a sizable population of high-need students in terms of learning and barriers to learning. And your district is a low-wall school district in terms of property values, earning power, that's a combined wealth ratio, and that's a data point that the state uses. So, so for that, you're not able to raise the funds locally that you need. That's why, as Mr. Laurie mentioned, you're relying upon the state. And the third test point was a causal connection between inadequate funding and a cause for inadequate inputs. So that was the part in 2006 when this New York City finally prevailed, and they were getting significant aid increase from New York State. From that, in the 2007-8 fiscal year and academic year, New York State, when Governor Spitzer came in to office, they implemented significant education reforms. Foundation aid was one of those. And what Spitzer's approach was that there would be a phase in a foundation aid, and all districts, particularly the high need, would get significant increases. Sitting at the table with the board of directors of the Small Cities Association in Albany, 57 small city school districts, probably 48 to 50 were active members in the association. As we sat and looked at the CFE finding and what foundation aid was, we looked at it and said, it's nice we're going to get some more money. It's not sufficient. It's not adequate to meet the needs that we have, even once it's fully funded. So the discussions through this association and the board of directors was, should we sue the state? And there was agreement to do that. And then it was, who would be the districts who would go forward to do it? And 8 districts stepped forward to do that. I won't get into the details of everything else on that. At first it was the districts were going to sue, but the districts can't sue. The students and the parents are the ones who have to sue. They're the ones who have standing judicially. So in 2008, the case was initiated, and we've been going through the Supreme Court in cases, in hearings, and coming back and forth. And we've got some history of how it's done. Each time the Supreme Court level has ruled against the case, the plaintiffs. Maisto is the plaintiffs. And every time the Maisto plaintiffs have appealed to the appellate division of the state. Every time that they've appealed to the appellate division has ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. They've overruled the Supreme Court. What the appellate division has done, though, is they've always remanded the case back to the Supreme Court justice to address the issues that they felt weren't addressed appropriately. And in May of 2021, the appellate division ruled, following, I think it was the 3rd time that the case had been in front of them, they asked for a de novo review, which meant they didn't look at the Supreme Court case findings and all. They asked for the case to be presented to them at the appellate level, which is not typical. It's unusual. The appellate division ruled unanimously in favor of the plaintiffs, and they said that New York State had violated the constitutional right of at-risk students in the Niagara Falls School District and the 7 other school districts that the students comprise the Maisto case. It's a constitutional violation. Sent it back to the Supreme Court judge for a remedy phase to address it. So at that time, New York State, this was in May of 2021, the 22-23 state budget had already been passed by that point in time. The state came out and said that they would fully fund foundation aid in the 23-24 year, if I've got my years right there.
Correct.
And so the next year, and there's a question, one of the questions up here shows that from 22-23 to 23-24 to 24-25, you got increases and you got a significant bump one of the years. The floor of your funding got established at a much higher level, which was, we didn't win everything we wanted, but that was a good win. So that, but the Supreme Court justice had said that the state has made a reasonable and rational resolution here. They fully funded foundation aid, so they have met the burden of proof against them. Our attorneys, Mr. Coons will speak in a moment, as we resorted through the case, felt that that's not appropriate because foundation aid was not sufficient to begin with. So why settle for a dollar amount that they put out there rather than looking at what does a high need, what does an at-risk student need in order to be successful and have the opportunity to attain a sound basic education. And so the case is on appeal. It goes back to the appellate division November 17th, a week and a half or so, and the briefs will be presented then. We've got in one of the answers, we kind of have like the back and forth of what happens in terms of briefs, opportunity to respond to briefs. Oral arguments should occur late December, or late winter, with findings 60 days following that. The appellate division usually, and that's almost always, comes out with their rulings by summer. So, so that's the gist of why this is still lingering on. The state's approach has been to delay and wear everybody down, and they have. I mean, there's no question. I mean, I applaud yourself and your predecessors for hanging in and fighting the good fight. But it obviously, it's I've used the term with Mark that there's an obvious fatigue
Right.
with let's get to resolution here. I mean, you've had gains and you've had wins, but it's are we are we where we want to be? Because, and then we'll get to your questions. If we don't prevail, the state's approach is going to be business as usual.
Right.
Which means every year you're going to be waiting to see what they decide rather than having a formula which the state has consistently not followed. I'll give you an example. Wealth, I talked about high student needs, low district wealth. There's a data point in the formula called with combined wealth ratio, which I explained before. Your property values and the income of residents of your district, which you report on your state income taxes. Well, the state never let that run true. They put an artificial floor in of 0.5. I'm not sure what your combined wealth ratio is, but I mean, there's many small city districts that have combined wealth ratios that are below 0.3. Mm-hmm. But you're treated as though you're wealthier, even though you're not. And the converse of that with student needs, there are artificial ceilings built in. So somebody may not be at the extreme of what their learning needs might be. They're set at a different level. So the formula has never been allowed to be true.
Right.
And David the other day, David Coons basically said foundation aid is a theory. Right. And that hits it exactly. So.
Well, I think what really upsets me is I looked at last year's formula, and what I thought they did as I studied it was they used the CPI. And I don't know where they came up with that or how they came up with that. And then what they did is they backed into a number saying, well, let's use 3 years of CPI. No, that's not it. Let's go to 5 years of CPI so they can find the right average to give the amount of money they want to give to education. That's not a formula. That is throwing darts in the wind. And there is no reason why school districts should not have a consistent understanding right now of what we can build our budget on, not only this year, but next year. A formula that's 42 pages long, that has never been followed, and that changes arbitrarily at the will of the legislator and governor. So in my mind, that's the gist of this. And if you don't believe that students from high poverty need more resources, which is what the case was about, I think you're sadly mistaken. And that's why we're in this fight. If maybe, Mr. Coons, if you could talk about three of the questions that the board had, where we are in the process of the case. I think Bill articulated that. Do we expect to have a conclusion date, and how many more appeals can there be? Maybe we can take those questions. David, did you hear the questions?
David, did you catch all that?
I didn't hear any of it.
Okay. Great. So I think it's interesting that when is the expected conclusion of this case?
Is there a specific question you want me to?
Yes, so when do we expect a conclusion of the case? I'm summarizing Mark's question.
Well, first we've got to finish up the appellate process. And as Bill mentioned, we expect a decision sometime in the, hopefully the late spring of 2026. The process will then depend on what the court rules. It has multiple possible results. One is the court could Justice Kimberly O'Connor's decision
Oh, you're kind of breaking up, David, so,
He went into Charlie Brown's Christmas Carol.
yeah.
So, yeah. So the answers are contained on our sheet here, but
Yeah. So if the state
go
prevailed,
ahead.
I'll summarize, David, and you can correct me. If the state prevails, the case would be over. Is that, or we have the opportunity to appeal to the Court of Appeals, which is the highest level in the state. I'm actually trying to find the question because so how many more? Okay, whoever loses the appellate division has the right to appeal to the Court of Appeals.
I guess my next question would be, how much, if it's determined that the remedy is that the schools should be funded, we've commissioned a independent, what would you call Dr. Ewing?
You mean the report? It's professional judgment study.
We've commissioned a professional judgment study, and the professional judgment study conducted would indicate Niagara Falls would be entitled to $56,533,048 more if we were to prevail. The next question I would have, and I think I know the answer to this, is if we prevail, how do we get the money? I believe, and I'll let David and Bill answer it if I'm not correct, I believe that it becomes part of what the governor and legislator has to do by legislative action in the state budget. Is that correct?
Yeah, money comes through the legislature
Right.
with the approval of the governor, so.
So if we win and the appeals are exhausted, there is only one way to get the money, and that's to have the governor and the legislature approve it. So that's another hurdle, even if we win. And that's a big chunk of money. The next question was, if we won the case, is there any chance we're going to get paid? The state will return to this year after year, and again, it'll be the legislator and the governor. One of the things that we haven't done, Bill and audience, is we as a district, the board has not in the last 2 years paid any more money toward litigation costs. You mentioned the word financial fatigue. We've been I don't want to speak for the board, but they're financially fatigued. We're in over $650,000. We've asked for another $12,000 a year, and I just think that I want to put this on the record that this board and their predecessors have been very supportive of it, but they're feeling financial fatigue, and I hope you can understand that. And that's in talking to some of the board members individually, because it just seems like it is going on and on and on. When you talk about 2008, that was, like we said, 3 superintendents ago. And it's now 17 years later. And if the strategy of the state is to wear you down, and cost you out. And, the board, and I won't put them on the spot now, will have to make a decision as to whether they want to contribute to any more legal costs. I understand that some of the 8 districts have stopped doing that as well. They still remain in the case, as I understand it. There was a conscious thought to do that. And there is really no, end point to when this could happen, because it's got another appeal possibly, and then it's got a legislative lobbying effort that has to take place.
Can I jump in?
Sure you
first?
can,
I don't know.
Bill.
I don't have any physical, I can't see you, so I don't have any. Is it okay if I jump in? There we go. Thank you. I just want you to know we're at the point in this case where CFE was when the court directed, what we're asking for, the court to direct the state to determine what it costs and then fund that. Those are the 2 things we're asking with this. So I'm not a lawyer, so I know that the legal path is long and exhausting, But we're at that point now, but that's what we're asking for, the court to direct the legislature and the state to fix the formula and fund it. And that would include, I apologize, that would include the professional development of Stephen Ewing, you know, take that into account. I mean, we keep talking about how the formula has been suppressed and manipulated from almost its entire being. When you're talking about the CPI and the CWR, you know, your district has never been, as poor as you are, they've never calculated, so that's, am I being called by your, are you ready? I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Okay. This formula has never taken into account the amount of poverty that you're dealing with. It's almost as if you can be just so poor, and then after that, they don't recognize it anymore. And these are the things that we're bringing to the court to ask them to decide. So I know there's exhaustion. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm as frustrated as you, and I've been working with the small cities for, 26 years, and every year we go in and ask the legislature to fund us at a certain level. It's exhausting to do that as well. I want to leave you with a formula that will take into account who it is you're actually educating and what that costs, and to fund it. I mean, and the thing that when the formula was established, it was stated in its manifesto. That's not the right word. I apologize for using that. But that they to level the playing field, to bring, if you cannot, through your tax base, get to a point where you are able to spend what you need, the state needs to come in and do that for you. So I apologize for breaking in and out here, but I just felt like you needed to know that it is exhausting, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel.
So in terms of next steps, the plaintiff's appeal is due on the 17th of November, and then a ruling is due sometime in late spring,
Right, with oral arguments occurring late winter.
with oral arguments occurring in late winter.
Yep.
And the hope is that we will again prevail. And if we prevail, then the hope is the lobbying of the legislator and governor.
Correct. And in terms of, we have also, and then I'll wrap this up, Mark. We've also, commissioned isn't the right term, but Dr. Bruce Baker, who presented at the school boards convention in New York City with the Small Cities group, he has worked with us since 2008. He was at Rutgers, now he's at the University of Miami, but he still maintains a connection with us because he's been involved with us since we started. And he has created a paper that analyzes the state's funding system and has come up with recommendations. And if you don't have that, Mr. Laurie, we can give it to you so you can have
Sure.
it shared with the board. So,
Go ahead, Russ.
How about a thought? Why don't you give us a price not to exceed to the end of this thing? Because if this is going to be millions of dollars, that'll make one decision. If we're close to the end, and maybe make another decision.
okay. I can pass that on to the attorneys. I can tell you, and that's a fair question, I understand. I know that Mr. Biggerstaff, who's probably the last 5 years has not taken any pay for this case at all. He's assisting Mr. Coons. Mr. Coons and his firm, we talked about it the other day. I can ask him how much they're getting and things like that. But he said they have tried to keep their costs as modest as they can while still doing this. They recognize that.
Quick question, how much has been paid into this case by everybody?
By everybody, that's a Bob Biggerstaff question. I will get that information to you. I know Bob has tracked every contribution to the case since it started. And contributions from the 8 MASTO districts, but also other small city districts. There actually are some non-city school
Right.
districts who've contributed. Up until a few years ago, New York State United Teachers had contributed $120,000 towards the case, because,
It's a good point,
I mean,
Bill.
they, you know, they would like us to prevail as well, because, you know, they're,
Well, I think we'd all like to prevail, and I just, you know, if we could get an idea where we are, we know where we are. And we know the state's gonna run us around. And it gets to a point where they could run us around for 10 or 15 or 20 years, and by that point, I won't care.
Yeah.
But I just like, you know, a thought on that.
yep.
I think it's a good thought, Russ. I think it's a good and a fair thought to this board. So just by way of the fact that our district has been in it for about 650,000. The 8 districts were all in it for about the same amount for many years, up until about 4 years ago, and then some districts fell off of payment.
Well, I think, you
So
know,
you
if
can
it's-
start multiplying out what it would have
If it
been.
all makes sense, I'm sure we would lobby the other districts. If it
Right.
doesn't make sense, you know, and I know how the state operates. They wear you down, and, you know, hopefully we'll give up. But if, you know, we got a good chance of winning, and there's an end point, I'd be in.
Yeah, I mean, New York City won at one point within an 11-year period. It was interesting.
Like you said, I'm sorry, like you said, the case has been, we won the case, it's just the implementation of the funding from the state. That's the next step.
And,
So, I mean, it's not a case of winning, it's just getting everything in the place where we can
you know, we
get our funding.
can't predict what's going to happen. Past behavior, the appellate division has looked very favorably upon the MASTO plaintiffs, the students, and their rights. So they can choose to hold on to the case and direct the remedy to the state, and it gets done at their level. Maybe, I mean, it's the 4th time it's been in front of them. I don't know what their typical pattern is and things, but, you know.
I think we have, unless there are other questions, I think we have.
I'm scared about the fact that, if I heard it correctly, and please correct me if I didn't, even if we win, it's gonna go back to the governor and to the legislators to see if they'll disperse the money. So we don't, I mean, that doesn't even make any sense to me.
They are the purse holders of the money as a result of the legislation. that
But why
state
wouldn't the
laws-
Supreme Court designate them to pay us?
Supreme
I
Court.
didn't hear your last.
Why wouldn't the Supreme Court or whatever court mandate the state to pay?
That would be the appellate, the appellate division could come out and say that, and then the state could choose to do that, or the state could say they won't, in which case it would go to the court that's above the appellate division. This case has never made it all the way to the Court of Appeals in the state. That would be the next piece. Either one of them could direct. They won't, from what I understand, the courts will not tell the state how much. They will just tell them they have to do it. And we go back to the basic premises. You need to determine, the professional judgment study Dr. Ewing did, you need to determine what is needed in order for the sound basic education to come out. It's kind of like an algebra formula. Then then you come up with the dollar amount.
Right.
You put all those variables together and then come up with the dollar amount. So rather than give you a dollar amount and have you parse it out across all your needs, which is a stupid way to do it, because it doesn't work.
What court are we in?
What court?
Yeah, where are we now?
The Court of Appeal, or the appellate court, the 3rd Division, New York State Appellate,
Well, appellate court, so what's above appellate court?
Court of Appeals,
And what's above the Court of Appeals?
that's it.
So we only have, there's one more level they can go to.
They could go to.
And what's after that? United States Supreme Court, would they ever hear this case?
That, I'm not.
No, I'm not trying to be,
I don't know the answer to that.
but, you know, we got one more court
questions, so,
that the court could order them to pay.
Then we
Well-
send Angelo in, and it'll get done right away. So, no, I'm kidding. I give you a compliment. Yeah,
The courts will not enforce their judgment. Bill?
I'm sorry.
The courts will not enforce any decision?
I'm gonna go back to CFE, Campaign for Fiscal Equity in New York, when they put the test in that they, gotta find the document here.
Well, the basic test is the interference of the court in the legislative process.
The court, there's a statement in this doc, let's say, the court directs New York State to determine the amount of New York State funding required to provide adequate inputs and fund it. So the courts do have the power to direct that. The court will not determine how much money is needed in terms of inputs, but will approve New York's determination if it appears reasonable and rational.
well, they can't say $10
That's not
and you've met your obligation.
right.
Maybe Mr. Coons can, and the young lady, and if the court decides what is equitable, does it enforce that if the legislature says no? That, I think, is one of the issues if you carry forward on that. I do know that there are exceptions to the interference of the courts with the legislature, and that's when there's a constitutional issue at hand, which is established here as to the equitable cost for education and the equal rights for our children in the education. But has there been any indication, Mr. Lawyers, that the courts will enforce a judgment rendered by them that an equitable amount has to be given? To this date, I haven't found any.
No. I think the answer is no. There hasn't been.
Well, if it's no,
Yeah.
then are we just going through an exercise and not going directly to the legislature, with all due respect to the small cities and what they've done?
Right.
That's what I think is, I mean, we're gonna be putting more money into it. Are we gonna come out with a decision that can be enforced?
Right.
Or that will be enforced?
Right.
So, I'll try to get you an answer through.
Okay,
Mr. Coons.
yeah.
But going back to May of 2021, when the appellate division ruled that the at-risk students in the 8 school districts' constitutional right had been violated, the governor and the legislature came out within a short time, I'm going to say probably the fall, because this was May, and said that they would fund foundation aid fully within 2 budgets.
Right.
And they've done that. So that was a vital victory of the state had violated constitutional rights of students. That was significant.
So they did it. They did it for 2 years, and then what happened?
Well, they fully funded it,
Yeah.
but they're not using the formula correctly, so now it's a matter of.
They stopped.
Yeah.
So they did it. They were directed. They did it. We reaped the benefits of it. You remember those times? And they stopped. And that's my problem with it. They stopped.
That shows that what they did originally was gratuitous on the part
Yeah.
of the legislature and the government.
I don't disagree with you.
Because it was being enforced by the courts.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'd like to see that, because that goes to the question of continued investment in something that doesn't give us the end result that we want, and that we need, actually, that we want.
So, the court process that's coming up starting the 17th of November
Right.
is the question of the state has not provided a reasonable and rational remedy plan because foundation aid is not sufficient. And then, as Beth mentioned, what we're asking for is to determine, the professional judgment study determine what an sound basic education for an at-risk student is. So you can know how many teachers I need to hire, how much extra time kids
Right.
need, all that kind of stuff.
I think at this point, the most expeditious way to handle this would be to stop, take those questions back, present them, answers back to the board in writing, and then ask the board what they want to do in consideration of any future financial support.
Yep. And then it would be, it's too bad that David Coombs's connection wasn't clear. We can try to set up another time and.
Sure.
But we'll get you the answers.
We'll get you the answers to those questions, and then
And others, if you have other questions that come, this weighs on you.
So the objective today in the last 40 minutes was to let you know Maesto's alive, where it is, the frustrating points, what it's trying to attempt, and to get follow-up questions to make a determination whether you would like to entertain any more investment of district dollars to keep this going. That was the point of this. And it's pretty complicated, it's pretty arduous, and it's really an attempt of the state to wear us out and gain our money, just put our money where we can't keep giving it out so that they think we'll go away. But on behalf of the students of the 8 districts, Niagara Falls included, we know we'll continue to fight to get what we think is right. Thanks, Dave. Thank you very much, Bill.
I'll pen the questions that I heard, talk to Beth, I'll send them back to you to make sure that I've gathered and just so we get a chance, and then we get answers to you and get them.
As an intelligent superintendent that I think you were, I'm sure you would get them right on the mark.
I was always good at making up answers, I'm just not really good at making up questions.
I went to that same school. That's what they teach you in school. Just make up the answers and sell it well.
I always said I had the right answer, just the wrong question.
That's right. Bill, a safe trip back to your home.
It was nice meeting all of
Thank you.
Thank you again for the opportunity. And
Thank you.
Thank you for yours and prior board's commitment to embrace the kids in the state. So
Thank you.
Thanks. I'd like to move to our agenda review at this point. And if Ray would pull it up, and if Maria would get ready for herself. We have no bids this month. Maria will do personnel in a moment. We have a number of short-term contracts. I'm going to go quickly through them, but that's not to breeze over or try to move fast. You have 2 weeks to ask us questions about these in case something needs further clarification. The first one is for administrator professional development. Remember, I like to always preface things by saying if it begins with an F code, it's paid for by a grant. There is a Head Start, a presentation of professional development that needs to get done. Number 3 is for the Niagara Falls High School Big Picture program. Cold Gnarly is a music recording program for our Big Picture students. As a matter of fact, Cold Gnarly was just celebrated, and they are building a tremendous building in Buffalo for student music development, for students to develop their own music. And they come in and work with they came in last year and worked with our Big Picture students, and will do so again. Number 4, Laura Mack, is an evaluation from a special education student CSE meeting for an assistive technology evaluation. I'm going to skip 5 for a moment. Number 6 is for some professional development that occurred on Tuesday. Tuesday was a full day of professional development and training for our teachers. Number 8 is for coaching at Gaskill. I know Mr. Zimmerman's here. They've used this coaching and it's paid for out of a grant. Number 9 is for 2 concerts by a presenter. Number 10 is for restorative justice practices and teaching. Number 11 is a pass-through contract. The district was able to apply for community development money, and then we pass it on to that individual for her independent tutoring. Number 12 is a contract for a nurse, a temporary nurse practitioner. Our current nurse practitioner is on the precipice of going out on maternity leave. And this nurse practitioner certainly will help during her maternity leave, but she also can help us in terms of billing for Medicaid. Is that correct, Maria? And that's why we have to have a nurse practitioner who can sign off. Numbers Numbers 5 and 13 through 24 are all for Saturday academies. If you've ever been to a Saturday academy, and we've got our witness and testimony here from Miss Gracie, who has been coming faithfully, Miss Gracie, to our Saturday academies. I think you've enjoyed them, and I think you see value and worth in our Saturday academies. We're glad that you're there. These are just for different performers, activities, SPCA, drumming. There's one in there for bike repair. I know Gaskill started this bike repair program. They're going to repair bikes on Saturday Academy. This is a whole slate of activities that Saturday Academies will do. On Saturday, November 15th, Mr. Zimmerman and Gaskill will host their first Saturday Academy. They've been big hits with over 200 participants, students, and parents, and some of you have had a chance to stop out and see them. So we're trying to do different things. As we go to Gaskill, we're trying to do things that would appeal maybe to a little bit older demographic that would have appealed to at Bond or Cataract. So really, Gaskill is up next, and then we move into our December Saturday Academies. But that's what they are. You can see it's everything from making positive choices to having students write their own books, to having digital laser engraving, to having LA movement, to having the SPCA in, she drums, clinical lab making t-shirts, back up to more movement and dance and focus like that. It's a lot of fun. We're getting 200 people. We hope that because it's going to be at Mr. Zimmerman's school, we'll get 205 people. But it's been a really great thing. And I encourage everyone to come out on the 15th at Gaskill. It's another way for kids to get breakfast and lunch as well, and to bring the family together. And you know what? I think it's kind of an innovative thing. I know I'm accused of not being innovative, so I think this is kind of an innovative thing. So I think it's really good, and I want to thank Lynn is here, Rocco is here, Angela is usually here, and Derek, Lynn, Rocco, and Angela put on a great show, so we're behind you, win or tie. Let's try to make it good. I know you will. Right? Okay. As we move forward, I want to thank Trinity United Methodist Women. They donated $400 to our Focus on Families program, and Judy Martin, that's the first resolution. 602 through 608 are all grants and grant money that we receive. The first one is $276,069. That goes to SUNY Niagara to pay for courses for P-TECH. 21st Century Grant, $826,000. That goes to LaSalle and Gaskill for after-school activities. Extended School Day Violence Prevention, $350,000. You've done things with that money like your summer camps. Mentor Teacher Grant goes to our first, second, and third year teachers so that they can have a mentor. We get $51,000 for that. We have a Teacher Resource Center in our school district, $67,000 for that. LaSalle Prep, Mr. Baldessari is the recipient of $8,102 for professional development for 4 English as a new language teachers. LaSalle Prep is one of our schools that has a number of ENL prep school students. 608 is the first distribution of the Juul settlement money. Juul is a vaping instrument, and Juul was sued. There are going to be 2 pots of Juul money that are going to be coming to us. This is the first pot, and this comes through BOCES. BOCES received the first amount of settlement money. They divided it among the 10 Niagara County BOCES districts. Niagara Falls will receive for the next 8 years $12,222.53 every year for 8 years from the Juul settlement money. That's the vaping, the harmful vaping that has been pushed on kids. One of the there are very narrow programs and purchases you can use with that money. One of the programs that I would like to use with that money is to engage Horizons Health Services. And unfortunately, we do have students who are vaping. And sometimes they do it in school. And in lieu of suspending a student who's vaping, which makes no sense at all, because then you would go home and vape, what I would like to do is to keep those students in school and have them work with Horizon. And if they work with Horizon Health Services to get themselves off of that habit at our prep schools and high school, and they follow through on with multiple visits and have a plan for reducing their and then eliminating their vaping, I think it's a win for the health of our kids, and it's a good and acceptable use of the money. So that's one of the plans. And Horizon Health Services has already committed to be our partner and to provide at least one staff member a week for our 2 prep schools and high school to meet with kids that are having problems with vaping. You'll have 7 additional years to use that money to do whatever you think is right for it. You can also use that money to buy materials for anti-vaping. You could also use that money to buy vape detectors or vape sensors for your school. So there's very narrow scope in what the money can be used for. I will tell you, very soon you'll get another resolution because Niagara County, the county legislator, also received vape settlement money. And from there, we'll be able to have additional monies based on that lawsuit.
Mr. Superintendent, is that 12,000 total in the 8 years, or
It's
12,000 each year?
It's 12,222 a year for 8 years. Yes. If we have to adjust the resolution, okay.
I didn't know whether it was.
Yeah, it's 12,222 53 cents a year for the next 8 years. Yeah. And the question I don't know, board members, is if we use 8,000 of it, does the 4,000 roll forward? I don't know the answer to it. I got to ask that question because my initial plan for that money, just so you know, and I'd like to talk to the administrators, would be to have a person come in and service kids that have been identified in lieu of suspension. I think it's a good use of the money, and they would meet as the principal directed them to meet, and certainly not suspend a kid. I don't want anybody vaping, but unfortunately there are kids that do that. But not to, that's a more appropriate discipline in my opinion. 609 is something that we're going to try. DeFrancesco Center is missing a freezer, a walk-in freezer, refrigerator, Richard? And now this is a shot because I'm not sure. We had a call this afternoon with Congressman Kennedy to tell them that our Head Start money is continuing to flow, but we would like to put in an application for $15,000 to purchase a new walk-in refrigerator for DeFrancesco Center. I'm hoping it gets approved. They won't even look at it until you resolve and approve the resolution. So we'll take a shot. They're working without a refrigerator over there. If this doesn't get approved, we'll have to come back and think about something from the general fund. But I want to take a shot at this money. Judy is tired of having unused ballots lingering in her office, and she'd like to dispose of the unused 2025 ballots so that she can put more bill stuff up around her desk. 6.11, you have recommended a young lady by the name of Miss Portland Jackson to serve on the audit committee. We won't have another audit committee until the new year, but Portland Jackson would be the 4th citizen member. You know, you have 5 board members and 4 citizen members. Portland was your selection, and we want to affirm her with that vote. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So right now, with Portland's approval, you'll be 4 and 4. 612. This needs no introduction, but it's no secret that the LaSalle Prep generator has been repaired 5 times and is beyond repair. And as great fortune, karma, and good luck will have it, the minute we took it offline, 48 hours later, LaSalle Prep lost power. So what we're doing here is asking you to pass an emergency resolution for an emergency project to purchase a new generator, a backup generator, whatever they are, Mike, to purchase a new generator at LaSalle Prep and to get our 97 or 98% aid on it. You can't do that unless the board resolves to do it. Once that happens, we'll put this resolution together with the paperwork from Clark Patterson Lee and appeal to the state for the 98% reimbursement.
Okay, the question I have about the backup generator, will this enable us to, when power goes out, that we can power up at least 85% of our building?
Can you use the microphone, Mike?
Well, because we had to set them, the.
Right.
All we probably have emergency lighting.
Yeah, a lot of the school's dark.
This is a bigger generator. All the lighting, all the.
Yeah, it's not gonna do all the lighting. It would get too oversized for that. There's like a factor of like 20% of lighting for emergency. That's what the code requires. We're looking into to see how much we can add to it. We're adding a kitchen panel currently right now that's gonna power up. There's 2 milk refrigerators right now that aren't powered currently on the generator. The walk-in cooler and the freezer aren't currently on the current generator. That's gonna be upgraded into that generator. Backup proc system for the key cards are gonna be on that. And the current lighting is how it's kinda set up for. It's like 20% lighting for emergency. It's like every 4th light down the hallway will be powered.
What I could tell you is, and Idolo could attest to this, is that when they lost power, it was very dark on the 1st floor. And even with a generator, LaSalle just doesn't have a lot of natural light coming through on the 1st floor. And it got to we needed the generator and we didn't have it. That's why we had it dismissed. We still probably, if that happens early in the morning on a generator, we probably would have to dismiss again. But at least we can keep the food cold, get kids safely out of the building, get them to their evacuation site. We're required to have a generator, and LaSalle's has been soldered, welded, and fixed over 5 times by Roy's Radiator, and Roy's Radiator is going out of business. So not just because of that, but because I saw it in the back of our mechanic's car, and I'm like, what is that? He said, it is the generator for LaSalle. I'm like, didn't give me much confidence. We need a backup generator. Parenthetically, I'll tell you that in the 5-year plan, because you'll need a capital project soon, Abbott will need a generator, and then Cataract will need a generator. Those are the next 2 up. But LaSalle's is in awful shape.
Guesstimate on how much we're talking.
Mike, you give a guess? He won't hold you to it, he'll just hold me to it. Go ahead, Mike.
Just a guess.
CPL is estimating about 300,000.
Okay.
We're trying to keep that.
No,
Yeah. That's 300,000. Yeah. That's why we need an emergency resolution to get the 98% reimbursement. I'm hoping it's a little less, but Mike starts talking to these guys about stuff I have no idea about, what he wants more power in and so forth. So it's expensive. That was, Mike, what year was that, 1995?
1995. is the current generator.
1995. So 30 years. 30 good years. Yeah.
Natural gas. It's an 80 kV right now currently, and we're looking at going to 150 possibly kilovolt.
Yeah. Abbott's is next, and then Cataract's is next. I think that's my order. But, I think they can make it to the next capital project you do.
just a question. With the natural gas ban that this crazy state is looking at, has that been considered?
Yes, that's being considered.
Thank you.
We're going to do the right thing. Hope that ban goes
Well, I hope the
away.
governor does the right thing.
I agree with you. Both funding us our foundation aid and for our electricity. Maria, you are up. Those were the resolutions for the 20th. You have 2 weeks if you have any questions about them. 2 weeks if you have any concerns. You no vote on them tonight. Unless there's an emergency, I don't anticipate adding anything. Maria is going to distribute the personnel report for your first look. Again, no voting tonight. Before she does the certificated report, I want to give one caveat, Maria. But why don't you do the classified report? Which one do you want to do first? I think that's a great idea.
All right, beginning with the certificated report. You'll notice a retirement, actually 2 retirements, one in December and one in June.
Both pretty sad. I'm happy for the people, but really sad for those retirements. And Mr. President, especially on the first name, I would like to talk about that on the 20th. I'd like to talk about her on the 20th when that time comes, and then the other gentleman we'll talk about in May or June. You have it.
We have a resignation of an ELA teacher at LaSalle Preparatory School.
I believe she's moving out of the area.
Correct.
Her husband,
Her husband is a border agent,
border agent.
and
Okay.
they're moving out of the area. We have some probationary appointments of a school counselor, pupil service assistant, and a business teacher. We have a regular substitute appointment due to an absence of a teacher at LaSalle Preparatory School. And then we have some involuntary transfers. Those involuntary transfers are really a catch-up. Those occurred at the beginning of the school year. They're not occurring now. We hired a new phys ed teacher, and because we hired the new phys ed teacher, all of these folks were moved to a full FTE at their schools. So that's what you're seeing here.
Yeah, the elementary schedule was, I'm sure Rocco could attest to this, and Angela had 6 phys ed teachers, Angela Manila at Cataract. She had 6 different phys ed teachers going to her school. And we were able to hire another phys ed teacher to alleviate, that's just not fair to the kids, the school. So we were able to hire another phys ed teacher. It helped bond, it helped tremendously at Cataract.
And then, obviously, as every meeting, we begin with the per diem work and the schedule information. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask. And then next week, we'll probably have some additions to the report. I don't anticipate many additions, but there will be some. If you have any questions, please let me know. And we will move on to the classified report, and I know Mr. Laurie wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, board members, we're going to need an executive session, and when you get to page 3 of 10, item number 8, Roman numeral number 8, I would ask that you could refrain from your questions because there are some executive session approved personnel discussions that have to occur on pages 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah, it's all
Okay,
good. It's all
so I would prefer to answer those questions about personnel in executive session on those pages. And we'll tell you why when we get there, and I'll announce the reason. So if you wouldn't mind holding your questions until that time on pages 3 through 8.
So beginning on page 1, we do have some resignations of some staff members there. We are looking to replace them. We have some probationary appointments beginning on page 2. Those are some of the replacements for the resignations that you saw on page 1. And then as Mr. Laurie mentioned, beginning on the bottom of page 3 all the way through page 8, we have some appointments that we need to discuss with you in executive session. Those are appointments and promotions of individuals in the unit. And then as on the certificated report, we have some additional hours for clubs and extended school day activities, and that will take you through page 10 of 10. If you have any questions on any, apart from that one section, please let me know. Thank you.
Mr. President, I have a couple of updates, and then I'm going to ask for an executive session. I want to congratulate a couple of people. First of all, we'll start with cataract teacher Kyle Lynn Tuttle. Kyle Lynn at Cataract applied and received for her school, Cataract, $12,000 in school supplies from Teacher's Pet. Ms. Tompkins is here. I want to congratulate your teacher, Ashley Hardy. She put together a wonderful sponsorship and rally for breast cancer awareness in Roswell. And Ms. Hardy was singled out and given kudos by Roswell, as was Abbott, for the work that they did on breast cancer awareness and breast cancer support. I want to go back 2 years and congratulate a Niagara Falls High School graduate, Aisha, is it how I say it, Miss? Aisha Makama. Her name is Aisha Makama. She's a junior, rising junior at the University of Buffalo. She is in the field of biochemistry. She received a $25,000 Obama Chesky Voyager Scholarship to study biochemistry in Africa. And guess what? She graduated from Niagara Falls High School. So I saw that in the UB News. I said, I know this young lady. Checked with the high school, and they said, yeah, she graduated 2 years ago. I'm sure she won a Martin Luther King Civil Rights Award. That's a pretty nice thing to have, a $25,000 fully paid scholarship to study biochemistry in Africa. And she came from Niagara Falls High School. I think that's great. Our good friend, Nazreen Akhtar, who is a great supporter of our school district, will be at Abbott again on November 20th. This will happen before our meeting, but they plan on November 20th at Abbott to have an organized giveaway of 600 turkeys in the front of Abbott, and that's all NAS 716. And they've done it at Kelfus, and Lynn has graciously accepted the responsibility of organizing it with NAS at Abbott. I want to, I've already talked about Say Yes, and you can see the great activities. I want to remind everyone that tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, and then next Friday and Saturday, 7 o'clock, Mamma Mia, the alumni show, will be going on. It's really great. It's a really great show, and if there's time permits, I will do just one or two of the show tunes. No, I won't be. But please get out there and watch and see Mamma Mia with our alumni. We received great news. I see Mr. Rotella here, that our building trade students are going to the NAC. I think you approved this about a month ago. Well, they applied to the Western New York Workforce Development Consortium, and the Workforce Development Consortium awarded our Niagara Falls High School trade students at the NAC $10,188 to buy tools and supplies to help build the NAC up. So you can see how that partnership goes, right? We get our trades, we go in the NAC, they start fixing the NAC, and money starts coming to help do more there. So congratulations to our trade students. I want to let you know that we're on the precipice, second time I've used that word in the meeting, of starting winter sports. I will make sure that Mr. Contento has in your next packet the winter sports schedule so that you can follow our teams. I also have tasked Mr. Contento with setting up an open gym beginning in December for the track, the pool, the gym on nights when we don't have basketball games, girls or boys basketball games, so the community can come in and use our school. I want to conclude with two other things. One is that Tuesday is Veterans Day, and I want to take a moment to publicly thank our veterans for all they've done for us, for our district, for our students, for our community, for our country, to give us the freedoms that we have, and their sacrifice should never go unnoticed. we celebrate them and honor them with a day, but I want to thank our veterans. And I think it's so admirable what they do. Finally, I just wanted to address an issue that we dealt with over the last week and a half. We had an issue at LaSalle Prep School, and we used every ounce of precaution to make sure that the air quality of the school was in tip-top shape, And we would never put a staff member or a student in that position. We actually went above and beyond, I think. We commissioned, I would say, 6 different tests. We commissioned the Niagara Falls Fire Department, including one of your board colleagues twice, to go with their equipment to LaSalle to test and use all their meters to check the air. Then they went a 3rd time. I want to tell you that we owe a debt of gratitude to Mr. Jim Combs from the BOCES Safety Risk. He not only was there, but he left his very nice equipment that gave Mr. Macri a readout that's 687 pages. I have the averages right here of the amount of carbon monoxide and other volatile organic compounds. I didn't know what VOCs were until this came up, so I learned something. We tested for carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, chlorine, hydrogen, relative humidity, temperature. We have 687 logs of time of everything that was going on at LaSalle. The next group was Stoll Environmental. We have reports from Stoll Environmental that show here, and I promised the LaSalle teachers I'd make this available to them, about the range of carbon monoxide and other VOCs in the building, all at levels inside the building lower than outside the building. Inside the building, the air was better than outside the building. But we do have a Stoll report. I want to thank Stu Lowe from the Capital Projects because we put in a lot of new stuff. We checked all of the meters, guides. Nothing came back with carbon monoxide or any other VOC. What happened? We don't know. We don't know. On Monday, we had a faculty meeting with Mr. Baldessari and the faculty. We met for an hour and 15 minutes. We explained everything. They left us with 4 questions to follow up, the staff did. The staff at LaSalle, under Mr. Baldessari's direction, was calm, inquisitive, professional, and I think pleased. I think we all wish we knew what caused what happened, but we don't have any evidence of anything. Idolo reported me today. Today was a pretty calm day, and we're starting to move again back to normal, correct direction. Finally, there was one person that quarterbacked this whole operation. And I just wanted to thank and publicly acknowledge Mr. Macri because you got thrown into the fire, man, and this was your test. And I'm telling you, I am very, very impressed with his work. You deserve a great deal of credit. You were all over it, night and day. And he was giving answers. I'm like, how did that guy know that? How did he know that? He really, I think Maria was with me, Idolo was with me. He really was the one, in my opinion, that led this effort. And Mr. Macri, I know you're new. I don't remember the guy who you followed by name. I've lost track of who it was because you're the only person I've ever recognized as a maintenance director. But I wanted to say you did a great job. You really earned your stripes, and thank you very much for your work. You're welcome. So we put that behind us. I don't have a conclusive answer. I think we move forward, and I think in the future, we do everything we can and stop because health and safety is number one. And hopefully we won't have to experience that anymore. Those are my notes for today. We do need an executive session. I don't know if there's any other board commentary that you want to make. You're going to wait?
I'd like to make a comment.
Can I just say something about the LaSalle situation?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I just want to say that I went there twice personally, two different rigs, two different monitors, and got zeros. So I stood in that very same classroom for a good 10, 15 minutes myself. I think we did our due diligence and we exhausted every resource. You know, and in the whole process, the highest reading I got was at the exhaust of the backup generator, and that's like the equivalent of holding a monitor at the exhaust of a tailpipe of a vehicle. You know, and even then, the highest reading was about 25, and that was at the source of exhaust on the generator. Inside the building, we weren't getting those readings, and I think that we did what we needed to do. I know there was some concern. I know that families were, you know, felt like they were in the dark, but they're personally, having been there twice on two separate days, two different pieces of equipment, seeing the monitoring system that was going on in real time, seeing it update in 5 minutes, speaking with the BOCES health and safety director as well. I think we handled that situation the best that we could. And definitely shout out to Macri and the team. Every time I was there, he was there. You know, he was very transparent. You know, he showed me the monitoring system, you know, was willing to give me access to the information. So I just wanted to say thank you to them as well.
Thanks. Idolo, thank you to you and your staff. Leah, you got him back. He called me 71 times. I'm tired of talking to him. I know what you go through now, so I give you a lot of kudos. But thank you, Idolo. And again, thank you to the LaSalle Prep staff. It's not a pleasant thing to go through, but they handle it with great professionalism. So thank you to the teachers and staff and the custodian and everybody there. And to our first responders, to Stoll, who jumped on it right away. We did the best we could, and I think it worked out well. I do need an executive session. Oh, I'm sorry.
Before we leave tonight, I would like to publicly acknowledge Barbara Rogers. Barbara is a name out of the past for many of us. She used to be the librarian here in our district, and she gave a speech today at the Veterans Breakfast at the Casa Colombo that was outstanding. Women of our country were not even acknowledged for the role that they played during the Vietnam War. I can't tell you enough of how she brought back so many memories and how the women were never acknowledged as being a part of the veterans. He was a member of the Navy and was very influential in getting women acknowledged by the veterans and totally accepted. Barbara, I want to thank you for your time with us, and I want to thank you for the beautiful job you did this morning at the breakfast. And you were a better speaker than I think some of the political people who spoke, because you got to the heart of the subject beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I look at Derek and I always think about his dad. You know, he's Stan Zimmerman had so much to do with that beautiful monument at Hyde Park. So I always call him on that day and thank him. And we should all think of a veteran or two or three or five and say thank you. So thanks, Jimmy. The executive session is not going to need any action afterwards. It is for conversation all around personnel matters. And in 3 cases, they are personnel matters that may lead to the appointment, employment, promotion of a person. And there are 6 matters personnel matters that may lead to the demotion, discipline, suspension, or dismissal of a person. So we do have a number of executive session items to talk about. Those will conclude without any action taken this evening.
Okay, before I ask for a motion, Mr. Capizzi, you have something to say?
I did. I wanted
I'm
to.
sorry, I didn't see you.
It's all right, no problem. I wanted to compliment you and a few of the board members, and maybe you want to comment on this quickly, for handling the issue at Maple Avenue before something seriously did happen to one of the kids. I'm a LaSalle guy, but I just
Sorry
from our
about
board
that.
threats or board texts,
Yeah.
you know, and that was handled, you know, in working cohesion with the police department.
Yeah, I want, really, the city, a resident, Brian Del Porto, Board Member McLeod, you know, we have an issue. We have an issue around school zones, and we have some irresponsible drivers, and they're putting children and adults in harm's way. And through advocacy of, as I said, Brad and others, there are some speed bumps on Lewiston Road. Ultimately, that's the responsibility and territory of the city, but I think we had a little hand in pushing that. I know Rocco deals with this continuously at Niagara Street. I know G.J. Mann deals with this. I know the boulevard in front of Gaskell and Hyde Park deals with this. I implore, thank you, Mike, but I implore people to slow down. I don't know what the hurry is. I think it's life in general. What is the hurry? Especially when you're around kids. But it's just in general. So I'm happy that Maple got taken care of. And, you know, I know the other administrators have issued the same concerns. So I'm glad that you know, really it was the city's installation and the city's work with the push of a couple citizens and, you know, and a board member and others. But thank you for bringing it up, Mike. Thank you to the city and to those involved, Chief Del Porto. People have to slow around, especially around school zones, but everywhere they're going. I don't know what the hurry is. You know, and I'm guilty of it. I'm not better than anybody, but gosh, especially during school time, dismissal, arrival, you know, we cannot afford that in this community. We can't afford it anywhere. It can't happen in this community. So I feel like I'm lecturing. Slow down. Slow down. Okay, I feel better now. Thanks.
Anybody else, any comments? Okay, well, I'm looking for a motion for executive session. Mr. Consemi? Second, Mr. Petrosi. Under question? Vote? Yea or nay? Yea? Yeas have it. Thank you, Judy. Love to dress.